So moving on to our next session, stem cell therapy. I'm sure all of you have heard about it. So and it's emerging as a field, as a tool which can help in improving when it comes to autism. In the brain, there are areas of hypofunction, hypometabolism, where there is neuroinflammation, immune dysregulation, and stem cell therapy has shown to bring some improvements in correcting them. So today we have Dr. Nandini Gokulchandran. She is the Deputy Director and Head of Medical Services at NeuroGen Brain and Spine Institute based out of Mumbai. So over to you, ma'am, to share your insights on stem cell therapy.
Hi, good morning. Amazing session, the first two sessions. Thank you, Dr. Deepak Gupta and Dr. Chandrasekhar, very enlightening. And to add on to what they have said, because everything is synergistic, so I'm going to talk about cellular therapy and try to simplify the process, the understanding about stem cell and cellular therapy. Dr. Chandrasekhar did mention about regenerative medicine and used a word banned there, which I want to try and clarify. However, I'm also going to talk about what is it that we are focusing on autism. We have heard a lot about genetics and also about the gut, but primarily the brain is what is affected, and that's where our goal lies in to try and correct that. So we know what autism is. I really don't need to go in detail, but what I want to emphasize is it's a neurodevelopmental disorder. So it's not a neuropsychiatric condition, or which was initially it was thought to be, of course. For some reason, more in males than in females, and the triad of symptoms. We keep understanding about symptoms, but social interaction, processing of information is a problem, repetitive behavior, impaired communication, and rest of the things about hyperactivity and a lot of mood issues. All of that arise from these three main issues, which are the problem. Of course, the numbers are increasing, as Dr. Chandrasekhar very rightly pointed out. 1% of the world's population currently is diagnosed to have autism. 2021 and 54, the current CDC Atlanta data is 1 in 36. So yes, some amount of is genetic. There is a genetic predisposition in some, about 10 to 15% of individuals. However, environmental factors also add on to it, and a lot of it has already been discussed. Prenatal and antenatal causes, intestinal dysfunction, yes, very important both in the mother and in the child. Exposure to toxic chemicals, and one thing which has not been discussed, which I do not have the time to discuss here, is about a lot of electromagnetic radiation from the phone. So what do we understand new is what I'm going to talk to you about here. We understand new about what is wrong in the brain. Very few people have really tried and gone into that. What's happening in the brain? Is neurotransmitter, neurochemical. So those are all theories, but really what is happening in the brain? And that's what we went and studied using functional imaging tools, and then how to correct it through the medium of cellular therapy. So our original research work, which has been published in the World Journal of Nuclear Medicine, we went on looking at the PET scan. So first we looked at the brain, the MRI. Broadly, the MRI looks normal, apart from a few possible causes such as tuberous sclerosis, or as Dr. Chandrasekhar again said, subependymal nodules in the brain. So those are very few and in few patients, but broadly the brain structure remains fine, and parents wonder what is really wrong with my child. My child looks absolutely fine, running around, in fact quite hyperactive, but what is it that we are dealing with here when we say it's neurodevelopmental? So when we looked at functional imaging, functional MRI is not possible in children with autism, so we looked at metabolic imaging, and we found that there are certain areas of the brain which are functioning less. This PET scan here shows the color spectrum. Basically the blue areas are hypofunctioning, the green, red and yellow are good functioning brain. You can see, as medical professionals, you may be able to understand the deeper parts of the brain, the hippocampus, the amygdala, the cerebellum, and the thalamus. And for those who are lay people, the deeper parts of the brain which develop later after the child comes out and after the child starts interacting with the environment. The hippocampus amygdala is for understanding, learning, comprehension, socialization, emotional expression. The cerebellum here, the small brain, is for fine motor activity, coordination, balance, articulation, chewing, swallowing. And between the two parts of the brain is the thalamus, which connects the two brain, motor and sensory processing. So we find that all these areas are functioning less, and this has been published as a baseline study in the World Journal of Nuclear Medicine. And very interestingly, what we see, this graph sort of gives you a gist of what is happening in a neurotypical brain versus a brain of a child with autism. The blue line here indicates that uh, the brain of a child, the metabolism in the brain of a child, a normal child or a neurotypical child, you can see that the cortical metabolism or the functioning keeps on increasing very fast up till the age of 10, and then it increases but slightly slowly. So the learning is very fast up till 10. As opposed to that, in fact, the brain of children with autism is much higher initially and then it keeps coming down. Am I audible? I'm not seeing the timer here. Hello?
You're
Yeah,
audible.
I can see, I can see. Yeah. So the metabolism here keeps going down, and you can see at around between 2.5 to 5 years is where it crosses the normal metabolism and keeps on worsening. Contrary to what we expect. So here we can see that the difference of brain metabolism between a neurotypical and autism child keeps on increasing as age progresses, and hence early intervention. So all the rehabilitation, all the interventional, even use of probiotics or even the functional medicine or FMT or even cellular therapy, everything I feel needs to be started much earlier for us to bridge the gap faster. It's because the gap is smaller initial on. So less than 5 years is the best age to start any treatment. Of course, it is the treatment is multi functional, or it needs a team effort for the treatment of autism, because even the condition is it is a spectrum, right? It is so varied, features are so varied, so we need to put together a team which works best for our child. So when we are doing all of these, are we doing enough? We are doing all the kinds of therapies. We are trying to improve the gut. Yes, gut is very important. We are trying to fix a lot of external conditions like sensory integration therapy, and we do a lot of occupational therapy and speech therapy. But is it enough? What is really the problem? The problem is in the brain. Are we really fixing that? So available treatment options are more about managing the symptoms, right? So what are we told? There is no cure, there is no surgery, there is no medicine, and that you have to keep on doing rehabilitation all your life, and that's it. So what do we have new along with rehabilitation, which is a cornerstone? We believe cellular therapy with integrative therapies. So this is a good team. Integrative therapies, I think some of you have already heard about hyperbaric oxygen therapy before. Dr. Milisha must have told about ozone therapy, and of course the gut dysfunction, addressing the gut dysfunction. All this becomes a team addition to the rehabilitation, and that's where cellular therapy adds on to as well. So what are we doing? We're treating the core problem. As I said, the brain functioning is low. There's a PET scan showing low functioning brain. The blue areas are functioning less. And with the cellular therapy, we are able to address by improving the brain functioning. Brain is the CPU of our body. It controls the whole body. Yes, gut needs to be improved. But where did the gut problem start from? Because the brain controls the gut metabolism, gut movement as well. So we believe in addition to improving the gut function, we need to also work on the brain functioning. As the brain functioning improves, the gut control will also improve. So the brain functioning has to be done simultaneously, parallelly, in addition. So everything needs to work together, a team effort. I keep on telling everybody, team effort is very important. Now, the old thinking was that once the brain is damaged, or there is inflammation in the brain, or there is a dysfunction in the brain, it cannot be repaired. However, the new thought is there is a possibility of improving the brain functioning, because the brain also has the ability to learn again. It has the potential for neuroplasticity which we can invoke using cellular therapy. So it is a therapy whose time has come, but the concept is very different because it's difficult for people to understand. Because either we know in medical science that you have medicines and you have injections, or you have surgery for treatment of any conditions. But cellular therapy is neither a medicine nor it is a surgery. It is a procedure or a therapy or a cellular transplantation, which is different from both these conditions. And that's why the difficulty in understanding and the whole thing. So, now what is stem cells? Stem cells are like stem of a tree. When you give them proper fertilizer, water, they give rise to branches, leaves, fruits, and flowers. And what do? One cell can multiply into many, many cells. When you put them in it has so many eclectic effects. You put them in the liver, they can help stimulate the liver cells. You put them near the brain, they can help stimulate the brain cells. They improve blood circulation. They increase new angiogenesis, formation of new blood vessels, and release of growth factors, which would stimulate the parts of the brain which are functioning less. So these are the different function of a stem cell. So medicine will have one effect, while a stem cell has multiple effects. That's why we sort of, sort of give an analogy of an Android phone, right? Before the Android or iPhone came, we had different gadgets to do all these different activities. But with the Android phone, everything is possible. So that's what the cell therapy does. It stimulates, or it has a paracrine effect. It stimulates immunomodulation. It reduces the inflammation. It prevents cell death. It releases growth factors which can stimulate regeneration, and all these together. In terms of the brain, this is the brain scan. As I said, the cells will go and stimulate the repair to be able to reduce the inflammation and stimulate the part of the brain which is functioning less to function better. Now, the transplantation can be autologous or allogenic. We can take from our own body, put it back in our own body, which is known as autologous, or you can take from donor and put it in a patient. So, depending on which are the type of cells, the pros and cons vary. The earliest was the embryonic stem cell, where we take the cells from a 3 to 4 day embryo, and these cells from the in vitro fertilization clinic, they can form tumors. And there have been controversies surrounding the embryonic stem cell, where the federal funding for embryonic stem cell research was stopped in the US not because of the scientific reasons, but because of the religious reasons that life starts at conception, so cannot be used for transplantation. However, cord blood and adult stem cells do not have these ethical issues and have great promise, because there are no rejection issues, they do not form tumors, and you're not killing an embryo. So when we say that stem cells are banned or stem cells are toxic, we are putting everything in one basket. It's like comparing alcohol to homemade orange juice. So embryonic stem cell would be like alcohol, which will require regulation. Looking at too much intake would cause toxicity. While adult cells taken from our own body to use or repair our own body cells is like homemade orange juice. So we use bone marrow derived cells as the source and separate the cells immediately. No multiplication, no change of the gene manipulation, nothing. Just homemade orange juice, separate fresh and inject intrathecally, because we want to address the brain condition. I'm going a little bit far because I want you to see the what is the result. So scientific basis, Nobel Prize 3 times. So it's not a recent science. First time in 1990, 2007, 2012. Lot of work behind it. Worldwide publications, 33 publications in the world. First from India, from NeuroGen. Second from China. Third from Italy. Fourth and fifth from US. US is a bit far behind. The West is following the East in the field of regenerative medicine, and that's a change. Sixth from India, seventh from Panama, eighth from the Vietnam, ninth from Iran, and 10th from the US. The first ever publication from NeuroGen, where we use bone marrow mononuclear cell. So we are not using a product here. We are using the patient's own regenerative capacity to be able to repair the brain. So bone marrow is a source of constant new blood is being formed. So it's a replenishable source. It doesn't get exhausted. So this is the first publication where we showed that 91% of the patients did show improvement with no long-lasting side effects. Then the China paper where they used cord blood cells, where they showed 88% success rate. Then the US Dawson paper where they showed 90% success rate. Then the second paper from the US where they showed again 90% in behaviors improvement. Martinez et al. It's a review where they found that autologous cells is safe and 95% show improvement. Paper from Vietnam, again using autologous mononuclear cells, showing 93% improvement. So there is a lot of, this is for fetal transplantation from Italy. We show 78% success rate. This meta-analysis from Mexico showed that cellular therapy showed significant improvement. So this is just to show there is a whole lot of evidence and that is available online if we really go and see. At NeuroGen, we have published about 107 publications and about 16 in autism, the first ever in 2013, where and we have written books as well. This is just to show you that how the treatment is done. Bone marrow is aspirated from the hip bone using a very thin needle. Cells are separated and injected in the lower back. So this is the process. It's not a big surgery. It is just a needle in the hip bone where the bone marrow is aspirated, undergo centrifugation, no chemical mixing. In a few hours, the cells are separated, injecting in the lower back and counted. So the first ever publication with 32 patients where we looked at all different parameters as per the ISA scale and saw significant improvement in all of them. The second paper in 2020 where we looked at 254 individuals with autism, looking at a follow-up of 7.5 months, where we saw improvement in reduction in hyperactivity, better sitting tolerance, eye contact improved, socialization became better, attention concentration improved, and then speech and communication. Speech and communication takes longer time to come. Of course, looked at the clinical autism rating scale as well as ISA and looked at different severities. What I like to emphasize here is that we found that younger the child, better the results. So child less than 5 years showed almost 97 to 98% possibility of improvement. 5 to 10 years, it went down to 94 and 10 to 50, 90. So as the age increases, the brain is subject to a lot of hormonal changes, which then it becomes more difficult to change the brain. Adaptability becomes less. So earlier, the better, though we do have reasonably good results in later ages also. What we have done is, along with the cellular therapy, we have added and rehabilitation, which is a focus for us. We have added oxygen-based therapies like hyperbaric oxygen therapy and ozone therapy, which we now find aids better in older children. So when we combine this, even older children above 15 years show better results. So when the child comes to us before 1 year of age, we find almost 1 year of diagnosis, they respond better than later. So we keep on analyzing, and this is not published data, but just an initial analysis of about 1,000 patients where we looked at different genders as well as age groups. And I just want to point out a few things that initially with one treatment of cellular therapy, we found about 74 to 87%. But when we added on another treatment after 6 months, we found that the response rate becomes higher to about 96%. So that is important. A booster effect after 6 months seems to be really helpful. When we increase the number of treatments, the response goes up higher. So as I said, all these different publications are available. These are our own publications, all available, and that it can be combined with other treatments. There are no issues. This is the brain scan, which I showed. The above shows the scan before the treatment. You can see the blue part of the brain below. In 6 months, it takes 6 months to show improvement in the brain functioning. The brain functioning improving. You can see the blue reducing and the green improving. That indicates better brain functioning. This is another example. These are a few more examples before and after. Over a period of a year and a half, because people wonder whether the impact is long lasting. It is. You can see progressive improvement in the brain functioning over a period of a year and a half. This is another example. You can see the thalamus. This is the center part of processing has improved. The cerebellum has improved. Overall, the brain is much better. So we have thousands of such pre and post scans. Just one example, a child who came to us when he was 11 years old, he's now 19. He took treatment 3 times over a period of almost 2 years, and we found improvement that he shifted out of the autism spectrum over a period of 3 years. There was an improvement in the first 5 months in his reading level from third grade, fourth month to seventh grade first month. His eye contact improves, attention became better, temper tantrums reduced, his sensory issues reduced, cognition improved, problem solving became better, social play better. He started learning. His brain scans improved, and this is after 2 years. This child from special school went to a regular school, and this is his report card. So what we find is we are able to help the children mainstream and go from special to a regular school, and that is our aim. This child is a young man of 19 years old and is now in college. He has given exams and he has gone to college. I think that's a big win for all of us, that now he is in a quiet. He went on his own with on a quiet trip with his peers. He's completed his 12th grade, their level, and applied in colleges, and has got admission in many colleges. So this is a individual one example, but I've showed you the results, or cumulative results as well. So just one more example. I would like, this child came to us from South Africa at the age of 4 years and 5 years. The before that you see is 4 years, after that you see is at 5 years. And this is before he was absolutely unattending. He would not focus. And after that, after 1 year, words started. He's much better focus. He's much better learning. So this is a 1 year thing. But what is a long-term impact, right? Let's look at the long. I hope, I'm not sure whether the sound will be visible. So this is in 2020 November, 3 years after the treatment. So this is a child who was non-verbal, is now making up his own stories and recording it himself, very particular about that, hyperlexic, better than his peers in reading, and making his own stories with voice modulation. This is a 3-minute thing. I'm not going to play the whole 3 minutes, just for you to get a glimpse. So how safe is the treatment? Are there any side effects? Any treatment will have some side effects. We have to talk about it. But we don't see any major irreversible side effect that there is a severe neurological deterioration. No, but we do see that there are 3 to 6% of individuals or children who have a history of seizures or whose EEG is abnormal, that there is some amount of seizure triggered, but with medications, anti-epileptic cover, it can be reduced to less than 2%. So this is something which we are cautious about. Spinal headache immediately after the treatment for 2 to 3 days, which is managed and is transient. A little nausea, vomiting may happen, but these are usually, these last two are within the stay. We keep the patient with us for a week or 2 weeks based on whether we are doing extended therapy or not. So this is NeuroGen Brain and Spine Institute. You're all welcome to come visit us. We are very open, we are very forthcoming, and we like to encourage people to come and see us rather than have misunderstandings. So this is NeuroGen Brain and Spine Institute. We have treated patients from all over the world, but what our USP is that along with cellular therapy, we do complete rehabilitation, and the cell therapy, the whatever is done is within the hospital. So no cell, nothing goes out of the body, out of the building. Everything is within the hospital. So this is the cell lab, stem cell lab. And the comprehensive rehabilitation under one roof is again our basic premise. Cell therapy along with neuro rehabilitation and now oxygen-based therapy is a teamwork. And we have all different professionals working together. Just to give you a glimpse, this is our physiotherapy center. This is our occupational therapy center. Then we have a sensory integration room. We have behavioral therapy. Newer therapies like aquatic therapy has also been introduced. Children love water. Sensory integration therapy as well as art-based therapy. This is for adults because we also treat adult neurological patients. Occupational therapy, speech therapy. So it is a combination, art-based therapy, special. Yes, I'm done. That I'm on my last slide. And thank you for patient hearing. I know there will be hundreds of questions because I have not been able to address all the queries that people have, but I will answer them from the uh,
Yeah.
chat.
Thank you so much, ma'am. So there are so many questions around stem cell therapy, and you've beautifully covered all of them in such a short time. Of
Thank
course, there are a lot more questions. I'll take one question from the chat, and the others we can cover during the panel discussion. So, would stem cell therapy show good results in cases of genetic conditions like Williams syndrome?
Yes, yes. So, since I didn't have time to talk about it, see, the genetic, if you look at genes, I'm a microbiologist and I've done a lot of genetic research as well. The genes have a limited expression. If you look at the same gene defect in many people, the manifestations will be different. That means there is a environmental factor which is influencing the environment of the cell and the environment of the person also. So, whatever the gene defect is, if it is not progressive, it is a one time defect, the brain functioning has been affected, then the cell therapy will help improve the brain functioning. We have done Williams syndrome, we have done Down syndrome, we have treated patients with out and out autism manifestation with genetic defect which is known. So what we are addressing is the fallout of the gene defect, and yes, it can be treated. Yes.
Sure, that helps. All right, I request you to please stay back and answer a few questions in the chat.
Sure, I will go through all and answer them. Thank you.
Thank you so much.